How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another live edition of the Ad Podcast. Today we are at Shoptalk Chicago in the fall season of Shoptalk. We have Stephen Yalof, who's the president and CEO of Tanger, here joining us for a little chat. Stephen, thanks so much for sitting down and talking with us for a little bit.
Great to be here. What a day, huh?
Yeah, I know, right?
Chicago. It's gonna be cold.
It's been beautiful, yeah.
Beautiful.
The downside of global warming, I suppose, right? All right, so Stephen, tell me a little bit about yourself, the company. What do you guys do? What are you guys here to solve?
Sure. Well, Tanger, we're a shopping center company.
Mm-hmm.
We're a publicly traded REIT on the New York Stock Exchange.
Mm-hmm.
Company's been in business for 45 years. We've been public for 35 years. Owner, founder company. 2 generations of owner-founder leadership. And I'm the first non-family member CEO in the company's history.
Love it.
I've been sitting in this role for about 5 years, and I would say that interestingly enough, my first day at Tanger was April of 2020. So if you can imagine,
Yeah.
right? 40 shopping centers, 15 million square feet, 3,000 stores, and they were all closed.
Oh my goodness.
So needless to say, nowhere to go but up.
Yep.
It's been a really, it's been a fun journey ever since.
Yeah, no, I love that. So, there was a lot of discussion in the years even prior to COVID that the modern mall was kind of dead. I'm the father of Gen Z kids. I have an 11-year-old, and the only place that she wants to go anymore is the mall. So it seems like, malls and retail space as we'll let that go for a second.
If you are participating during this hour, please make your way to the meter area on the show floor for your scheduled meetings.
All right, I'll start that one over again. So retail space is having kind of a big swing back with the Gen Z population right now.
Right.
Kids more than ever look at going to the mall as not just an exercise and doing back to school shopping or going and getting things for their birthdays, but really a place to hang out and congregate again, to create social media content, to be with their friends. How are you guys seeing your portfolio change? The types of acquisitions or new constructions you guys are doing. What's your current point of view on the status of retail space from a real estate developer's perspective?
I would say that it's been quite the evolution. I shared with you my COVID journey, but the post-COVID journey has really been very interesting. I think that a lot of structural change that took place post-COVID, like poorly performing retailers that were just sort of holding on. I think COVID was a great opportunity for them to close and never reopen.
Yeah, kind of like put the dog out of its misery, so to speak. Yep.
You would think that would have set programs like ours up for great financial loss, but what it really did was create opportunity. And the opportunity that was created post-COVID was, first of all, if you think about it, an open-air world that people just wanted to get out and back into. That slow build of things that began to reopen. One of the first things that reopened were open-air shopping centers.
Wow.
Interestingly enough, most of our centers, even though the stores were closed, we kept the music on, and our walkers, there's mall walkers. Before the centers open at 10 o'clock in the morning, there are legions of people that will walk their shopping center. That's where they get their exercise. And I think they just like the open air environment. They like the safety that comes with being in sort of a shopping center where they know that there's going to be security.
And they get a window shop at the same time.
There's a lot of activity going on. So, that whole transition of mindset to open air, with it came a lot of different things. The other major structural change that took place that feeds into the narrative that helps me answer the question that you just asked is just sort of the way the population in the United States sort of shifted a little bit. I think going back to work or work from home, I think was a big driver of people resettling into locations that were previously second home destinations that became primary markets and primary home destinations, which fed centers like ours, which were typically, our older generation shopper
Keep going. That's not as bad as the last one.
Okay, our older generation of shopper who would drive. It was a set trip. They grab their friends. They drive 30, 40 miles for an outlet shopping experience. That changed considerably because now that customer is living closer and closer to our centers.
Mm-hmm.
It also made us as owners and sort of stewards of merchandising for a shopping center say, hey, some of those brands that went away, let's replace them with alternative uses that get the customer off the couch and into the environment. Maybe you're coming for value shopping and the discounts that outlet stores afford, but more importantly, it's like, how do we fill the centers with better entertainment, better amenities, better food, and in some instances, brands that maybe aren't traditionally outlet brands, but brands that younger customer, like your children who are Zs, or even the alphas want to shop. And that younger alpha generation, we're finding them come to places like, Sephora and Ulta. So for us, adding those types of uses to the center make it a little bit more interesting for a younger consumer, who obviously will become an older consumer one day.
They'll age
and
up.
We want Tanger to be part of their vocabulary when that happens. But also, they're looking for food. They're looking for more reasons to, like I said, get off the couch and get into the shopping center.
Yeah, no, I love that. I think the elevation of the mall experience, I think, is something, whether you look at like Westfield, Century City, a lot of the remodels, massive investments and just like making them beautiful and having being really safe places where people can go and having like a elevated dining experience. I think that was the real linchpin, is to just kind of take the the crummy experience of going to the mall and making it more elevated, and now people want to go to the mall versus like looking at it as a chore.
I think it's a responsibility of us as owners of these properties. It's not about how much expense can I remove by, not weeding my flower gardens to what is the return on that flower garden investment, because it's going to bring people there. They're going to take pictures. They're going to post them on their
it's
own
free advertising
sites.
if it looks great.
And that's we ask that question of our customers at the end of the journey. Hey, will you come back and will you tell friends? Which, as you know, translates to a Net Promoter Score, which is a really important metric, I think, post-COVID. And if we think about the evolution of our business, that was one of the narratives that I brought to this business, was how important the customer experience is. So we're constantly evolving, bringing in new brands, bringing in new food. But you want to make sure that the amenities feel really good, so that when you ask the customer that question at the end of the visit, you get that high.
I love it.
Score.
I love it. All right, let's talk about Shop Talk. What are you doing here this week? What are you looking to accomplish? Anything interesting you've seen so far?
I think that I'm here because I'm going to be on a panel to discuss AI.
Nice.
I think AI is really a huge part of the conversation right now. I think a lot of people are talking about it, but still scratching their heads on how to implement it into their business. I would say that, it's interesting. There's been recent polls. How familiar are people with AI? And, it's staggering how few people are familiar. Yet, what they don't know is they've been using it for years and years.
Right. Yeah,
it's
kind
in
of
our
this.
search engines, in our algorithms. We go on Spotify.
Yeah, it's the idea that it's become mainstream because it's consumer facing now.
I just think it's what you can do with it and how you can use it to your advantage. I still think is a little bit of a mystery, and we're trying to figure that out. I mean, as the leader of my company, I'm responsible for not only the revenue side of the business, but the expense side of the business. And there's millions of ideas out there, but we have to make sure that we're working with the ones that make the most amount of sense, are going to help us grow our business over time. So, you come to an environment like this, you walk the floors, you get to meet different people, find out the different things that they're selling, and, at least gives you the opportunity to test some things before you make a large investment.
Yeah.
I think that's critically important, that my team sort of tries before you buy.
That's
so
smart.
There's a lot of retail. Everybody talks about the pop-ups in retail business right now. Essentially what a pop-up is, it's, a store gives it a go. They go into a vacant location.
It's like the Spirit of Halloween model. You don't have to commit to a long-term lease. You get to test a market and see if it's a viable product in that particular market.
So, why can't that same philosophy apply to us coming to an environment like this and interacting with a lot of people and getting the opportunity to demo some things, bolt them onto our business, and if they work, hey, great, this could be part of our bigger plan going forward. And if they don't work, I'm not afraid to fail fast and, move on to something else. So, I know what I know, but I'm sure there's a lot more in the I don't know category. So I'm here to learn a lot more about what I don't know.
I love it. If you would like to point folks who are watching this, potential retailers that might want to get involved with one of your properties, or point people to learn more, where'd you like to send folks?
Well, they can go to Tanger.com, or they can go to my personal email, which is sy@Tanger. Send me an email. I read every email. I reply to every email. I'm in a customer-facing business. Customers are our lifeblood. We have two. We have the shoppers are our customer, and the retailers are our customer. So because of that, I'm constantly interacting. And it's a great opportunity to learn. We follow up. Every lead is potential, the next great opportunity. I think it's really important and a responsibility of mine personally to make sure we're following up.
It's a great mindset. Thank you so much for coming on. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Bye-bye.